What's up everyone, my name is Daniel Briggs. I'm going to show you how to use Reactor, a 3ds Max Physics plugin. I'm going to teach you how to bake out animations using Reactor. I'm going to teach you how to implement these animations as a skeletal mesh in the UDK engine. Let's get started. Here's a basic animation I created using Reactor. It's a pillar I modeled that's fractured into several pieces. These pieces react as rigid bodies and they follow the floor. I'm going to teach you how to create a skeletal mesh out of this object you created, which is this right here, in the UDK engine, and this is a live model that you can play, rewind, and put in your level. I'm going to start off by showing you my low poly model, and when I created this, I actually thought it would be really cool to model out bricks underneath the pillar, so you can almost see like an underlining to pieces that have been broken off. I actually modeled this out. So this pillar ended up being about 1800, and this is two pieces of geometry. This is a separate piece. This is the top of the pillar, and this is the bottom pillar. These are both modular, so you can use this in UDK engine and tile it. This is a Reactor animation I created, and basically, this is kind of what I showed you before. And using Reactor, you can keyframe your pillar falling into several pieces. Right now I'm going to show you how to export this animation. Let's say you know how to use Reactor, you know how to model all this stuff. I'm going to teach you how to export this and get it into UDK. And if you stick around long enough after that, I will show you more about Reactor and how to use it a little bit. So here we go. So you have your animation. It has several keyframes at the bottom. What you're going to do is you're going to create a bone at the base of your object, and you're going to take all of your objects and link them to this bone. After that's done, you're going to select all of your objects, go to the Utilities panel. In here, you're going to open up Actor X. Okay, so quickly let me explain this a little bit. These are all the settings for your export of your model, and this is really important when you're importing a skeletal mesh into UDK. The output path. This is the path where your actual mesh will be saved. I made a folder on my desktop called ActorX Reactor. I'm going to save this path right here. For my mesh file name, I'm going to call it pillar, for obvious reasons. The animation file name, I'm going to match this to my mesh name. And I think it's very important to do this just for clean sake. The animation sequence name is whatever you want to happen. Crumble, blow up, whatever you make. This one just crumbles to the ground, so I'm going to call it crumble. And right here you pick the animation range. So I can do 0 to 200. Once this is all completed, I want to select everything. On this ActorX setup panel, I want to make sure all textured is checked, only selected is checked, and I want to turn off bake smoothing groups. Once you have these settings, you want to play your animation and make sure everything works again. Because sometimes after you link your pillar to that bone, the X-form will get all messed up. So sometimes you have to reset the X-form on your bone if that freaks out. Once that's all done, you select everything, you save your mesh, and this will go to the path that you put in the output path. See, it says skin the pillar PSK written. So it writ my object to a mesh file. I'm going to digest the animation. Basically says how many keyframes are in it. And then once you digest your animation, it puts it in the animation manager right here. And since I called my animation crumble, this is it right here. This is a previous animation I did. I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to move this over using this arrow key to the output package. Once it's there, I'm going to hit save. And this is going to save it to my ActorX Reactor folder. So I have my PSK and my pillar PSA animation file. That's it for this. Alright, once we're inside UDK, we're going to open up the content browser, click the import button at the bottom left. We're going to go to the same output path that we designated in ActorX and import my pillar.psk file. Click open, and I'm going to name it, the package will be pillar, the group will be skeletal mesh, and the name will be pillar_skeletal mesh. Click OK, and it will import my PSK file. For ease of this tutorial, I created the materials beforehand, and I'm just going to show you how to put materials on your actual skeletal mesh. So once I import my skeletal mesh, it shows up over here. I'll double click on it to bring it up, and Let's see. I'm going to move my content browser out of the way so I can do this faster. Okay, I open up my skeletal mesh, and right here under the mesh tab, you're going to see two material slots. Before I exported my model out of 3ds Max, I gave the top half of the pillar and the bottom half two separate material IDs. That way, if I want them to be static meshes later on, the top half can be a static mesh and the bottom half can be a separate static mesh because they have two different textures. And the benefit of doing this is this bottom half can tile, so you can stack as many pillars high as you want and then use this top or not use it. So for the first material slot, whatever's under material ID 1 will be under material 0. It works like programming. It counts up from 0 to n number of slots. So 0 is really material ID 1, and 1 is really material ID 2. So whatever's material ID 2 will be under my 1 slot. So top of half my pillar was material ID 2. I'm going to put that texture on right there. So here's my final in-game model. I have a basic diffuse, normal, and specular for the top and the bottom. Now if we go to the animation right here, this little animation tab at the top left, I'm going to click File, New Anim Set. Anim Set is basically a collection of your animations for your static mesh. So we're using the same static mesh of pillar. We're going to keep the package the same name. For the group, we're going to call it Anim Set. And for the name of the actual anim set, we're going to call it pillar underscore anim set. Click OK. And as you can see, it says animation sequences, and there's nothing here right now. So we're going to import the animation that we previously exported from ActorX. We're going to do import PSA, click on that animation file, and it's going to pop up right here, Crumble. This is exactly what I named it in ActorX. So as you can see, when I play this animation, everything's going to freak out. It's not going to work. All my rotation seem like they're off, and all the objects kind of spin in place. This is really easy to fix. We're just going to go to the Anim Set tab here at the bottom left. We're going to turn off this Anim Rotation Only checkbox. By doing this, it will fix our animation, and everything will work just like it did in 3ds Max. So here we have a nice final product of a skeletal mesh with an animation. This animation breaks apart, and you can put this in your level. You could say, hey, if I step on this trigger, there's an earthquake, and if there's an earthquake, make my pillar fall apart. Or you could trigger a boulder to fly in, break this down. And basically, whatever situation you have, you can make an animation for it, and just add it to your animation sequence. A perfect example of this is in inXile's new game, Hunted: The Demon's Forge. I saw in one of their gameplay videos they had a skeleton character, and basically you would see a bunch of bones on the floor, and when you get near the character, all the bones would come together and form this creature that would attack you and scream and go, haha. So basically what they did was they used the same techniques I showed you in 3ds Max. They would break the skeleton apart in Reactor and then just reverse the animation. You could add that to the animation sequence for one of the skeletal meshes, like the skeleton, and you can play that animation. It's a skeleton building itself, and then after that you can have the skeleton run at you or attack or do whatever animations you choose. So animation sequences are very powerful, and so is Reactor. I hope you guys learned a lot from this tutorial. My name is Daniel Briggs. Please check out my site at www.3dbriggs.com.